I think it's a big deal because we do it all the time. We do it with people. We do it with ourselves. We see things or see things, feel things. Have it's like a perception comes into us, then we label it, right? Chair, okay, and then we believe it's chair, and we believe the table, like we believe the tables are the same. We believe chair out there, and then we react that way. So in Buddhism, this gets us in all sorts of trouble because it's not out there, right? It's not totally out there because we have to see it. We have to interact with it. So interaction, we have a relationship with whatever happens around us. So I went to how this gets ingrained then is I was in Afghanistan in the early 70s and I went to Bamiyan and there's a 150-foot high Buddha, standing Buddha carved in sandstone, right? So I went in the caves around it and I walked up on top above it and looked all around and then I left Afghanistan and I heard, oh, the Taliban had defaced it and I saw this picture of the face shaved off, right? Right? So I go, it's wow. I mean, so then just recently I saw in a book that actually the face was shaved off when I was there. What the Taliban did was destroy the whole statue. And I still believe that I saw the face because that's what got imprinted in my mind. But, you know, Bev, the person I love, admire, and live with, she, and she she pointed out to me the dates and when things happen and pictures of both. So there's no way when I saw it, it had a face. But I still want to believe it had a face. But I am slowly coming around to the reality. Never didn't happen when I was there. So yeah, so we'll get into that more today. So that brings up blind spots and right, implicit bias and all those good things, right? Hidden bias. Yeah. So I won't give that book away, but there are two books here. This one we're going to look at later. So the problem isn't that we perceive it a certain way in Buddhism. That's not the problem because our individual processing system is limited and it's maybe comes out of the amygdala where it's fight or flight, that survival stuff, so we label things a certain way so that we can relate to them. Oh, this person's a friend, this one's an enemy, look out for that saber-toothed tiger. So it's okay for that, but that's very limited, right? And now it's gotten to where it's like we get stressed or triggered by things that aren't saber-toothed tigers. And then there's all sorts of stress problems. Okay. So this week is more about a little more background about Buddhism and getting a little bit into meditation about where to start where to start in relationships when we have relationships. Dharma is Buddha Dharma is about relationships. It's kind of a funny title, Relational Dharma. It's all about relationships. We're all interconnected, right? We're all interconnected. So the problem is it doesn't appear that way to us, and we get very isolated sometimes and feel very separate from others. But again, that's a perception that's become a belief that is faulty. So, so a lot of Buddhism is retraining. That's why people sit so much, you know. It's trying to retrain the circuits to not believe it automatically. So we'll get into a very one of my favorite meditations about equanimity. We'll get into that. So this week is more about a little bit of background, and then next week will be specific, more specific um, tools for dealing with interacting with others. And then third week would be more about dealing with difficult people. And then the last one would be more broadening our view more and including more of the bodhicitta and just where that takes us with interacting with others. So I worked as a therapist in a high school for school-based therapist for 22 years. So um, some of this stuff is just it's basic kind of some of the stuff I want to bring in from that are just basic communication skills. So yeah, so it's really applicable. This morning, Bev and I, my wife, I got in trouble calling her my wife once in a graduate school program. This person later became a good friend of mine, but she said, "Why are you calling her your wife?" It's like ownership. So I went home and asked Bev how she preferred to be me, how she preferred for me to refer to her. And she said, the person you love, admire, and live with. So, so I'll go with Bev now that you know the background. So this morning we were already talking about this. We've been together over 50 years, and we're still talking about it, how we trigger each other, and how do we not do that? How do we not go into this defensive, um, you know, mode? So it takes patience and a lot of work and a lot of meta communication. I think is really helpful, talking about how we communicate. Um, so hopefully we'll get more into that. Um, so I really want to. First let's just motivate a little bit. Try to broaden our motivation that whatever we do will help all beings. Um, that that's the Mahayana motivation, altruistic motivation. I want to get enlightened, so I can be the best I can be to help others, right? So that because we're not separate, and anyway, there are methods to be liberated from suffering, um, just for yourself. But even that, they say it won't last. I mean, there's something's going to just it's because it doesn't coincide with the way we exist together. Um, so I really want to emphasize skillful means. Usually Buddhism is talk about wisdom and compassion. It's like two wings of a bird. So you need both. You need to have insight and you need to have compassion. And then sometimes skillful means or power is included in compassion. But I want to pull skillful means out of that a little bit. Um, so there's different stories about that where somebody, you see somebody, you're in the desert and you're walking along and, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things left out of this story, but you see somebody who's really thirsty and they're dragging along and you see a pond of water over here So you run over to the pond, you get water, you take it to them, and you give it to them. So you have compassion. You didn't just, you know, forget about them, and you have the skillful means. You have the way to get to walk over. You have the and you get the water, you take it to them, they drink it, and they die because the pond was poisoned, and you didn't know that. So that would be not having the wisdom. If you didn't have the container and you didn't have the you couldn't walk and things, then you couldn't get to them and help them. Um, uh, but also the compassion, you need the compassion too. So you need all three. So skillful means it can be anything, but often it's like the Buddha. They say the Buddha coming taking ordinary form because when you become a Buddha, you can still take ordinary form. It's this is evolutionary, this 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 journey, right? Like we've evolved, they say, right? There's this whole evolution thing. So this is about we could even go further. Like we could get out of this trap of being in a body that suffers, a body mind that suffers, and not suffer at all. Not suffer at all. So but in his great compassion, he took ordinary form to help other people, other beings. So that was skillful means. Because if he wasn't in ordinary form, we maybe we wouldn't recognize him, or we would, wouldn't believe him, or we couldn't relate. So a lot of the teachers we have we happen to get to meet because China invaded Tibet and they all had to flee. We now we're meeting them. Um, if they weren't in ordinary form, we probably wouldn't meet them. So skillful means is can be anything, anything like that. So let's do a little meditation, just to I've blabbed a bit about motivation and the overview, but let's just relax a little bit. Really important in meditation is to relax and just let go. So just the main thing is to have your back straight, and however you can do that, it's good idea. Sometimes people lay down, but either way, and just let your body relax. Take a couple deep breaths consciously, and be aware of your body from your toes. Start at your toes and just kind of come up through your legs and up through your body, and letting go of any tension in the body. Just relax. Let the body relax. And then just check up where your mind's at right now. And you might be thinking about, feeling, just recognizing without any judgment. So be the awareness that is gently observing what's going on in the mind and body. Okay. So it's good to keep in mind, I think, that Buddhism's about alleviating suffering. That's the first thing Buddha taught. So, and the cause of suffering, and that there's a an end to it, and there's a path. So that's good news. That's good news. And that there's that's the problem, and that there's a solution to it. There's steps, and recognizing the suffering, um, investigating its causes, and it's all part of it. And then what are the positive states of mind that can overcome that? The greatest obstacles are self-grasping and self-cherishing. So what does that mean? Yeah. What does that mean? So it's not like the Dalai Lama even said, he said, I love myself. I just saw this. Did you see the video? It was at the Del Mar, actually. Did you see it? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that was a podcast or something, or a meditation he did, but this was a movie called The Wisdom of Happiness, I think. And he's standing looking out over a field or something. And he said, this vista, I think. He said, I do love myself. It's just I don't cherishing oneself is a little different. It's like I'm the best. I'm the only important thing in the world. That can get us into a lot of trouble because it doesn't coincide with the way we are, the way things are. And the self-grasping is holding tightly onto that. So the self-cherishing often comes out of that, holding on to this strong sense of um, independent self that's just the most important thing in the world. So there are some troubles with that when it comes to the West is that the low self-esteem is a big issue in the West. So some people take that, yeah, well, that fits right in with how I feel about myself. I'm not worth any, I'm not important at all, right? So some people take it the wrong way. I think they take it the wrong way. I think that's easy to do. I think I've done that. So people put themselves down, they degrade themselves. I'm not good enough. So it's not that. And His Holiness actually surprised that that happened in the West. So a lot of these methods sometimes I think come out of a system where the people had a very strong sense of self. Yeah, and you need that for Buddhism. You need to have a strong sense of self before you can. There's this when somebody says before you can get rid of it, get rid of the false view, the wrong view. But I think it's more like confidence, having confidence, and I think self-confidence is better for me than self-esteem or strong ego because it means like no matter what happens, you can kind of weather the storm, whether it's good things or bad things. You don't need a lot of praise. That self-esteem movement in school was sort of based on give them a lot of praise. Oh, you got 1 out of 100 right. Way to go, you know, and not address the 99. So I think that they did some studies that it led to some narcissism and entitlement. So it's trying to get rid of that, that sense of I'm most important. So those two things take a lot of work, and you can work at them in different ways. We're going to look a little bit about this self-cherishing tomorrow. I mean, next week. Um, there's meditations on self-grasping that very, very many ways to kind of go at trying to find that solid I. But we want happiness. We want a happiness that lasts, don't we? I do. But we're mostly into hedonia, which is temporary pleasures. But we see they don't last. They don't. So they're short term. And there's this thing called the hedonic treadmill, and they and it sort of says that whether you have a really great experience are a really bad experience, eventually it comes back to where you normally are. Like, oh, I won the lottery. Woo! But then you come back to this baseline, wherever your baseline is. Also, if you've had a, yeah, I think that, I don't know if that's entirely true, but it's just those sort of experiences are conditional, and they don't, so they don't, you can't sustain them. You can't sustain it. You can't, I mean, eventually everybody dies, so you can't keep it up. So, so the eudaimonia is more of a deep-rooted, meaningful life. You have this sense of I think, a self-confidence based in a reality. You have gratitude, um, rejoicing, patience, things like that, that you can, they're more internal qualities that you can sustain through whatever goes on conditionally. Yeah. So eudaimonia. So just a few meditation practice. It's something to contemplate. So it's not just I'm gonna go meditate for a while. Oh, I feel better now. You know, it's not a mindfulness, like a just watch your breath, calm down. Now you can concentrate better. Then that's part of it. But then you use that concentration to either do an analytical meditation where we try to break down some of these constructions that we have that are harmful, or develop positive states of mind like love and compassion that are more universal. So people will you spend a lot of time on meditating on impermanence, say, and trying and not just have it be an intellectual understanding, but an experience. I read there are 30 trillion cells in our body, and a million are dying every second. I don't feel that. I don't feel that, but I think it's possible. I think it's because my attention was Henry James. Is that his name? He's a psychologist. He said what you focus on is your experience. So, I mean, if we spent more time being aware of the subtleties of impermanence, we would be more sensitive, right? More sensitive to it. So it's very valuable. If that's the way things are, then it's important to get into it, right? Like that my body's mostly space, but then quantum physics says, well, it's not really space, it's full of stuff. But they say the universe, all the matter in the universe could be put into a really small ball. Have you heard these things? Yeah. How often do we concentrate on the space rather than the objects in the space? So there's things we could do to, kind of break down this, the tables are the same, you know, where we actually live that way. I think that's the aim. So we listen, we contemplate, and then we meditate to actually make it part of our live or the way we live. So impermanence. And then there's three kinds of suffering, right? Buddha talked about suffering. Well, then that gets broken down so that if you really want to get into it, okay, let's talk. You know, let Since we don't like suffering, we usually don't want to talk about it. It's like, don't talk about death. You're going to jinx me. You know, why are you talking about death? Buddhism is so negative. Always talking about suffering and death. Not always. Come on. It's it's just, huh? It is true though, isn't it? You can relate that to Buddhism. Yeah, I think it's true too. I mean, the first course I went to, it's like turned me upside down, turned my thinking upside down, you know? Impermanent? What do you mean impermanent? What do you mean I don't have a solid sense of solid self? What do you mean? I'm suffering? Well, yeah, okay. Now that you put it that way, yeah, and I start pointing it out, you know, uh, you get old, you die, you get sick, you lose people you love, you come in contact with people you don't like. Um, things don't go our way all the time. Oh, that's just life. Nobody likes it. Everybody wants eudaimonia. Everybody wants lasting happiness, wants happiness all the time. That's why people are striving so hard, I think, right? If I just get the house, then I'll be happy. Just get the right relationship, then I'll be happy. The right job. Yeah. That car will make me happy. I think we know deep down inside somewhere, but that's Buddhism talks about that too. But it's been obscured by all this grasping. So when we self-grasp, then we grasp like, oh, that'll make me happy. But deep down, I think we have this wisdom that, and I'm not just been pointed out to me, and I looked into it, and I think it's there. I think we all have this wisdom that we can we can see that it's not satisfying. Sometimes the suffering part is just a dissatisfied mind or agitated mind. You know, so the three kinds are that suffering of suffering. You somebody or you hit something that hurts. Suffering, contaminated suffering. I've always heard it as suffering of change, but recently I heard it's contaminated suffering or excuse me, contaminated happiness. Excuse me, contaminated happiness, suffering of change. So it's something that I think is going to make me happy, but it's because it's conditioned. I'm holding on to it like it's going to bring me some kind of lasting happiness. It's not going, it can't. It's impossible. So it's contaminated happiness. Or suffering of change means, you have a relationship that's really good and then it changes. So it's like you can't put all your eggs in one basket, right? You can't it's okay to have we have these things, but we have to know what they are. We have to know what their status is, right? Like we buy a brand new car, we kind of know it's going to break down eventually and so just having this awareness that it's not something I can put all my hopes in, all my happiness, my happiness can't hang on that. The last one is just the suffering of all pervasive suffering, just that we have a body and this mind, this conglomeration, that it's like a magnet in a way, you know, like it's just going to happen. It's just as long as we have this sort of setup, because this apparatus limits our way of perceiving things. It breaks down. It's conditioned. It's going to suffer, right? So how does Zong Rinpoche, as a teacher, previous Song Rinpoche. He went to the dentist a couple times to have he had a tooth pulled. He didn't take any Novocaine. So how did he do that if we're conditioned? Well, my theory is, and maybe you've had an experience where uh, you can be in a state of mind where you don't experience the suffering, and that's a big. You can be in a part of your mind, a part of awareness. You're not disassociating. He still feels it. I mean, he still is aware of what's going on, but somehow between the experience and the perception, the label, you can even change the label. Have you ever done that? You have? What'd you do? Yeah.
Connected to other people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to feel comfortable. And then
Sorry, if this is okay.
I'm like,
Yeah, sorry.
but then I relabeled it as, this is an experience that I get to have raw. Like I'm really here. I'm really hearing people. I'm really connecting as me. I'm not fake Maggie. And
Not what?
fake Maggie. Like
Fake Maggie, uh-huh.
like if why when I drink
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it was a performative act and I enjoyed it sometimes, but most of the time it didn't end well for me.
Yeah.
And so I would relabel it when I was in those situations or those contexts, and it wasn't super comfortable, but it still felt good at the end because I was able to get through this experience and have a real genuine experience that didn't feel fake.
Yeah. Wow. So this takes courage. I forget to mention that. I think this takes so much courage. Not, thank you. I mean, but I mean just Buddhist this sort of self-exam it's almost like the unexamined life isn't worth living. I think Socrates or one of them said that. Buddhism really encourages that. Like check up, check up. Look at what's going on. You saw this is causing me pain. I don't mine one of my simple ones was just sugar. It was causing me a lot of problems. Nutritionist said stop eating sugar. So I just started seeing sugar as poison. And it also made me laugh because it's like I know it's not poison. I like it, but I used to like it, but it's not good for me, so it's poison. You know, but, or like that. Like this hasn't worked for me up till now, and so at some point I have to take this. Huh? Yeah, the what before wasn't the solution. Yeah, 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 wasn't solving the problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Allergy. I saw that on a series I'm watching last night. That's what he did. He called his allergy. Yeah, I think that label part is so important. Yeah.
I think the part I had a problem with Buddhism a long time ago was, the talk of suffering, like we want to avoid it. And I don't think we can.
No.
So for me, you, pain became a friend. It's like if I can't avoid this pain, why is it here? And it's like I keep going back to my birth mind, like that was really painful delivering babies, but it was pain with purpose. And it came and went. Like you'd have the pain and then you would have a moment to kind of catch your breath, because the pain was there for a reason. It was serving, it was serving.
Hmm.
And I feel like if we could just appreciate, oh, I touched the stove and I burned my finger and now I have pain. Where's the gratitude for your brain to have caught that before?
Otherwise, your hand would have just burned up.
Right. There's a purpose to it.
Yeah, yeah,
It serves us.
yeah, yeah,
So when you surrender to it
yeah, yeah,
and accept it and appreciate what it's there for.
Yeah, yeah,
It still may be uncomfortable, but you kind of walk with it.
yeah, 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 yeah. The more we resist, I think that's where there's this thing between there's pain and there's suffering, right? So there's going to be pain, but the suffering is like our reaction to that pain, what we do with that. Oh, you know, an example for me is in college. I was still dating somebody from high school, and we were going to get married. I didn't want to get married. I was at Berkeley. I was a hippie. Just come live with me. Well, I can't live with you because my parents would, so can't do that. So let's get married. Well, I'm not, I don't, not it. Well, so she's getting the wedding going, and then she calls and says, I met somebody else. We're not going to do that. And in my head, I went, I've been dumped. But I checked in with my body and was like, so sometimes it is checking in to seeing what really is, what's going on, what's going on. And so the suffering, something our mind tells us we should be suffering. Another one was I had a hernia, and it was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I can't work and I can't sleep, and then I just said, well, okay, you meditate. Why don't you try that? So I started, instead of whenever the pain would come up, I would label it clear light and bliss. So it was, I just see white light, and felt really good. So I think the effect of that is it relaxes it. It's not like I'm deluded. I don't think that's being deluded. I mean, I knew there it was there. I knew it was a problem. The doctor said they couldn't operate. Lama Zopa said wouldn't give me advice. Like, yeah, I tried to get advice, but it's sort of like, okay. So and then it went away. And I think the hope and fear is part of the suffering. So I had this fear, I'm not going to be able to work anymore. I'm going to have an operation. So we trip out over pain, right? We trip out over an uncomfortable situation. And I mean, I know that happens for me. So thought will come up. And if I start ruminating and oh, I'm not going to be able to handle it. That comes up, huh? I'm not going to be able to handle it. What if this happens? What if that happens? And if we just look at what the situation is, it's like, hello, you're lying in bed right now and you're pretty comfortable. It's like you got food in the fridge, whatever it is. Yeah, so suffering's a big topic. And then karma, gotta, that's something we gotta throw out there, that we create the causes for our experiences. No one, no, they in Buddhism, no one's imposing it on us. It's not chance, and it's not, it's like we created the cause, and so we experience the effect. It's not determinism because no one else can experience that result except you. No one can change it for you, but we can. We can we can regret an action we took. We might still experience some effect, but if we regret it and we resolve not to do it again and we make some amends, then we can lessen the impact.
Mhm.
So it's not a done deal. Milarepa killed he learned black magic and killed, I don't know, a couple dozen people. It's a complicated story, but then he became a meditator and enlightened in one lifetime. So it's not a done deal. So and then Buddhism is really, I think, we have this incredible opportunity right now. Right now. Like right now, we have this incredible opportunity that because of impermanence, it's not going to last. If we have a certain amount of health, mental, physical health, we have we have the means, we have access to teachings, teachers. It's a mind. This is like I thought coming here today. Some of us maybe go to the gym. This is the mental gym. So we have the opportunity. There's gyms available, mental gyms available that we can go to and work out and get some training. We can have personal instructors. We can, we can read books. We can work out on our own at home, and keep developing our mind while we're able to direct ourselves in a more positive direction. Yeah. It's amazing. So we should rejoice, right? Rejoicing is the cheapest way to get merit in karma. Cheapest way. You know, you see somebody do something good, just be, wow, that's fantastic. Wow. So helpful to so many people. They are. Wow. Try that for a day, just wow, so grateful. So just rejoice. Look at people working so hard, that's so being grateful, rejoicing in others' good actions. Things people do, things you can read about. You can just, Jada Rinpoche was just here, and he was quoting the YouTube every once in a while. He's an old style Tibetan Lama, like old. He'd talk about stories on the internet, different species of animals helping other species. It's like, oh, so wonderful. It is going on. It is, people are helping each other. My friend works 3 hours 3 hours on Tuesday, 3 hours on Thursday at um, um, what is it called? Second Harvest in the warehouse, packing boxes, and they're singing and they're playing music and they're having a good time and they're helping people. So it's like, wow, fantastic. You know, she's asked me to come, maybe I will. So you can rejoice and then you can actually go sometime. So and then we have teachers, and I used to think when I take teachings, teachers will say teachers are really important, and I go, wow, are they promoting themselves? That's negative mind. And it's like, wait, I have teachers. I need teachers. If I didn't have teachers, I wouldn't have learned any of this. There's no way. I mean, we often wonder where we would be if we hadn't run into Lama Zopa and Lama Yeshe in Australia. I don't know how we could have ended up. Maybe it was inevitable. I don't know. So we have access, we have qualified teachers, we have and and then yeah, just real quick. Um, well, I don't have to be quick. Take my time. Um, so this relational dharma is just like uh, pretty well given. This thing about we talk about self-grasping and the sense of self we grasp onto a sense of self that feels like it exists inherently or independently or like it's a singular thing. Um, so it's not getting rid of self. It's not some people, oh, the Heart Sutra says no self, no feelings, no thought, no form. No, no, no. It's like, and our mind goes to nihilism. Doesn't exist at all. That's not, that's, uh, so we're in, it exists very solidly. It's called eternalism. So we're stuck there. So when we hear it doesn't exist, then we want to go to nihilism. And that's why often Buddhism, it's called the middle path. So I think that's the beauty of it. It can hold both, right? It does exist, but it doesn't exist the way it appears. It appears as independently existing. It can't possibly exist that way because of impermanence and all the different parts and the causes and effect, and that we label it like we label that chair, you know. So it exists conventionally as a chair, right? But it doesn't exist separate from us labeling it chair. Because somebody could come along and say, oh, that looks like something I could, if it was made out of wood, the Aborigines in Australia, they tried to domesticate them, I think, and to bring them inside, and they would take chairs and make fires out of them, so it was firewood, you know. because it's what you do. Don't sit in chairs. So I think we've been, and it's rude awakening because we've been bamboozled by this self-grasping mind. Bamboozled, hoodwinked, cornswoggled. What else? Hoodwinked, bamboozled, cornswoggled. There's also hornswoggled. I like sold the bill of goods. Like we've been kind of gone along with what we're being told by our mind, and we need to, Buddhism says we got to go, wait a minute, what? You're saying what? I can't, um, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. What? Excuse me? Can we talk about that? So you're trying to bring in a wisdom awareness that can monitor the mind that's caused the troublemaker mind in a way. Yeah. And yeah, we can see it as like, we can certainly I think it's not a war, but it is, sometimes it is. There's different methods, okay? Skillful means we're not just always peaceful. Sometimes we have to say, stop it. Stop it, Rich. Just stop thinking that way. Another time, maybe I need to go, okay, why do you get into that? Oh, when you were younger, you were left alone a lot, and so now you're afraid to be alone. Yeah, you know. Sometimes I do that, and then it's like becomes a story that I want to believe in, you know, that's really who I am. But I can go, well, yeah, that happened, but there's another way to look at that. When I was alone, I did this and that, and I did go off traveling on my own. You sometimes I think, and I studied narrative therapy, and it's like there's a dominant story, like front page story, about myself, about my dad. Oh, my dad, he said this thing and this thing, you know, and what a jerk, It hurts so much. I'm so hurt by that. And I went, wait a minute. He also put preparation H on my hemorrhoids. It's in elementary school. It's like, who does that for anybody? So it's like, so then all of a sudden I'm going, wow. And he took me to YMCA camp and Indian guides. And I mean, yeah. So there's different ways to go at changing stories that are harmful to us because they're not, they don't have enough scope. They're too narrow, too limited, right? Yeah, too limited. And then Buddhism, it goes past lives, beginningless mind. The mind is beginningless and endless. So even a bigger scope. So relationships we've had, these relationships we're having now, we've had many different kinds of relationships. So, I mean, we don't know that, but in our own life, sometimes people knew somebody a certain way, and then years later, oh, wow, I don't even recognize you. You don't even recognize the person. And maybe they're completely different now than they were before. So even in this life, things can um, change, and we don't recognize people sometimes. So I got this quote from a book called Becoming the Master on the Course and in Life. So it's about I play golf a little bit. So it's about a pro golfer and a geshe who plays golf. And I think he plays quite well. Lama Kunga also plays, but his handicap, I don't know if it's lower now, but this guy mentioned he shot up 70 once. So he says, in the West, ego can mean pride, but I see it as delusional, self-centered view of self that separates us from others. Ego is focused on ourself without inclusion of others. Wow, that's relational dharma, huh? So the strong sense of an independently existing I separates us from others. and I think can bring on loneliness, feelings of loneliness and separation, and me against the world. So fortunately, it's a mistaken view that we can correct, right? Like if that was really uh, uh, the nature of things, then we'd be, I want to say it, but I won't. We'd be screwed. So again, the pain is helpful. That seeing it. It's like this one Lama says, it's sort of a choice between what pain we want the most: the pain of living under the control of a dominating dictator that's malevolent, or becoming more aware of their their methods and their madness. Like working to dethrone. You know. So which one do we want to do? One has some can have a positive outcome, I think. Like we can be rid of this problem. We can pull it out by the roots. I mean, or gently, huh? No, not accept it, but I mean, we can. Yeah, I mean, I think there's different ways. That's the beauty of Buddhism too. There's so many different methods of dealing with, and we need those skillful means. We need different things in different situations. Like sometimes, the child runs out in the street and the mother needs to yell, you know, and be forceful, right? And another time need to be gentle because they're really upset and they really need some hugs, you know. So I think it's sort of we need to be that way, kind of know what's needed. And that's where teachers help and you know, so he says that this can be a limitation that shrinks our energy and can result in harm to ourselves and others. So we really need to understand our mind for well-being, um, looking at our emotions. So another aspect of that um, is when I did parenting classes at the high school, and so this book I used called Systematic Training for Effective Parenting. And Buddhism could almost be called something like that. It's systematic training for effecting enlightenment or something, because it is a very step-by-step approach in some ways. And we're going to do meditation on first step for developing bodhicitta, which is this altruistic mind wanting to attain enlightenment only to benefit others. Um, One thing I found why I got into Buddhism was I was a Lutheran. I was confirmed a Lutheran, and I went. So they always talked about compassion, right? But then I'd go out and I'd see that, wow, I don't. What's that? What's compassion, and what does that look like? And it seems like just in people I see, there's people who are mean to people who are in this class even. Sometimes people aren't so nice to each other or to themselves, and but I didn't see any step-by-step approach to developing compassion, especially universal compassion. Not just may I be kinder to my friends, but how do I have compassion for everyone? Since we're all in this together, we're all in the same boat. Um, how do I develop that? So anyway, this equanimity is for that. But in the high school, using emotions, like if we get, it was interesting because it's like first class was okay, pay attention to your emotions. Pay attention to how you're feeling when you're interacting with your teen, right? First class. Somebody came up to me after who I knew, and she said, I haven't really ever looked at emotions. I mean, in that culture she was from, it was you work hard and you take care of other people and you don't really pay attention to your own internal, you know. I mean, so anyway, so like this was saying like if you get angry, so effective parenting meant if you're parenting out of anger or annoyance or you're hurt or you're feeling sorry for them, it's not going to be effective. It won't be effective parenting. Interesting, huh? I mean, you could see anger, right? If you're angry, it's not often. I mean, there in Buddhism there is a thing called wrath. So your tone might be like the don't run out in the street, but it's out of compassion, right? And it's to help them. But if anger is more self-centered, I'm not getting what I want, it's a power stroke. So I said, okay, so it's sort of recognize, and just watch for the week. Like if you operate out of those emotions, what happens in the relationship? Oh, well, it doesn't go well, We get in fights, usually if there's anger or you get annoyed, then you get into that somebody's feelings are hurt and then you get into it gets worse. And if you feel sorry for somebody, it's like looking down on them. That's not the kind of compassion we're talking about here. It's like we're in the same boat, like you try to understand and try to feel based on some of the experiences you've had. Maybe you can get close, but it's like, oh, you poor thing, I wish you could feel better like me, you know. Yeah, yeah, that must suck. Yeah, too bad for you. Yeah. So anger meant it was a power play. Like if you get angry, you can go, oh, they need more power. You could think that way. You could think about the other person. Interesting, huh? I thought that was really interesting. So instead of just being caught up in your own emotions and what you want, and I'm not getting what I want, and you're not being respectful to me, you use that emotion to try to understand what they need. So anger would tell you it's a power play, and they need more power. They need more um, respect. I need to give them more um, power. Yeah. And if you're annoyed, it means they want attention. Like they're playing their music too loud. Well, maybe they need more attention. So at some other time, maybe you should spend more time with them, get to know them more. And then if you get hurt, um, what was that one? Oh, fairness. If you're feeling hurt, then fairness is really important to them. So so they were all about kind of if you're feeling sorry for them, then try to look at what they're competent in, you know. So it was all about trying to redirect, using that emotion to help you understand somebody else more. I don't know, but I hadn't quite put it that way before, but it's like, um, otherwise, I think we just get wrapped up in, I'm pissed off, and I got every right to be pissed off, and you pissed me off. And if you would just, Bev and I were talking about that this morning, some of our normal ways of dealing with when we trigger each other is like, well, you do it too. Oh, well, you do it too. So, so then you just go, yeah, well, you do too. So go back and forth. Doesn't go anywhere. But what we've seen over the years, though, is that it's shorter. It doesn't last as long, and there's more humor in it. So I think again, it goes back to these things are still going to happen, but how are we reacting inside? How soon can we recover? How much do we hold on to it? How much do we hold on to? Okay, so we're gonna do a meditation here. So skillful means the most effective, transformative tool appropriate to a particular moment. So it really depends on the circumstance. So the best in Buddhism is to have clear-eyed awareness and a compassionate heart, right? That would be the place to come from, and acceptance applied to oneself and the world around us. So the skillful means most skillful thing might be to get therapy. I mean, I read this woman, Kelly Moran. Um, she's a Buddhist aunt, and this has been a theme for many years. But she kind of put things in a way. There's this thing called spiritual bypassing. Yeah. So you use the spirituality to not look at your stuff. You know, you get, oh, I can visualize the Buddha, sit here. Ah, so nice. Just me and Buddha. So it's sort of an escape almost. They're like, oh, I'm going to go meditate now, you know. Oh, now I feel better, you know. Now I can go to work, you know. So it's really trying to integrate it, right? Integrate both. So the spiritual bypassing would be not using the spirituality to just not look at your stuff, I think. Not look at. So really, a lot of Buddhism is letting that stuff comes up. Like some of the retreats um, I've done it, it's like you can't even believe what comes up. Like, oh, some of your biggest stuff comes up first, you know, and now there you are sitting with it, you know, and here it comes again at 10 o'clock the next morning, you know, and you're waiting for it. It's a little late today. That happened to me once. It kept coming every morning. and, and it was like this anxiety, you know. And then one day I said, okay, um, wow, it's you know, it's I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna see it coming this time, right? I'm gonna see it coming this time because all the other times it caught me off guard. But now I know what time when it comes. So I'm sitting there. It's almost 10 o'clock. Didn't come. It didn't come. So 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 yeah, I think it's like that, you know, when we're afraid, it's that's like attachment. You know, when we're angry, that's attachment, comes from attachment. So I don't want you, you know. So I don't want to have this experience. I don't want to have this experience. Then it just keeps coming, you know. Okay. So um so we can there are these skillful means. Skillful means can also mean power and and taking it to action. Did you hear about these monks who were walking from Texas, huh? Texas to Washington, D.C., 2,300 miles? Saw pictures of them. The leader has, did you see this? The leader has this sash over his shoulder. I said, what is that? And it's badges from all the sheriffs through counties that he's been through. So they're making connections, they're talking as they go along. And so it's like they wanted to do something, you know, they wanted to do something that would, you know, uh, make an impact, you know. So uh, a Christian said to them, it's what the country needs. We need to have peace. We need to find commonality between all people. And the leader of the monks said, instead of chasing materialism, everyone is here in the moment with no violence. Peace has always lived in people. Peace has always lived in people's hearts. Simple, simple act, huh? Well, I mean, just gonna walk, you know. People give them flowers and food and take them in, and yeah, okay. I want to do a meditation. I'm gonna run out of time, but I'm gonna skip around here a little bit. Um, I want to tell you about a book. Okay, I always talk too much. The sun does shine. So I met Ray Hinton. I met him at the Santa Cruz bookshop some time back, and in '85 he was arrested for killing somebody. He didn't kill them. He spent 30 years on death row, and he finally got out. That's why I was able to meet him. Um, while he was on death row, and Ray is black, and death row, they have individual cells. He strikes up a conversation with this guy a few cells down. They don't can't see each other, and they strike up a friendship. When they meet, because Ray organized a book club that they could go meet. I don't know how they were able to do that, but they'd go to the library. Henry is white and raised in a KKK family, but they're friends. They became friends before they saw each other's skin. And Henry tried to introduce Ray to his parents at a visiting hour, and his parents wouldn't even shake Ray's hands. And Henry wanted Ray to be with him his last day. Henry was executed, but his last day you get to pick who you want to be with, and he picked Ray. So Henry just read something about somebody who was raised to hate black people. And Henry says, we all know why Henry had picked that package. His family was KKK, and here was this kid's dad teaching him the same exact thing, only opposite. It's a shame, said Henry, what fathers teach sons. It's a sin to hate. Ain't that right, preacher man? Henry looked over at Heath. That's right. It's a sin to hate, but God can forgive our sins and the sins of our fathers. That was a good passage, Henry, said Victor. Um, we are all God's children, and this world belongs to all of us. I know the sun will never refuse to shine. We may not see it, but I know it's there. The sun does shine, right? We may not see it, but I know it's there. I'm not going to have hate in my heart. I spent some dark years here with nothing but hate. Yeah, Ray wouldn't talk to anybody when he first got there. He was so mad, so pissed off. That's what he's saying. My mama didn't raise me to hate, and I'm sorry for anyone who is taught to hate instead of love, to fight instead of help. I'm sorry for that, and for anyone in this room who feels shame for what they were taught. God knows what's in each man's heart. What someone did or didn't do is between man and God and is none of anyone else's business. So Ray promises then when he gets out, I'm going to tell the world about how there were men in here that mattered, that cared about each other in the world, that were learning how to look at things differently. So when he got out, he wrote a book. And somebody we know was helped him write the book. So somebody local. Okay. Amazing, huh? So it's possible, it's so possible. I mean, if Ray can do it, right? In that situation. Okay. Let's do a short, well, I'll make it short. So this is a short meditation. So this is called an equanimity meditation. So powerful, I think that can be. So really try to make it personal, make it real. Um, in front of you, try to picture somebody you represent. And sometimes it's might be hard to come up with something, but try to come up with somebody who's a good friend, really good friend, somebody who's an enemy. Enemy meaning you don't really want to spend time with them. Um, you don't like their views on things, or they've hurt you in the past. Friend is very helpful. and a stranger, somebody you may have seen in a store but didn't think much of them, pretty neutral. So friend we're attracted to, enemy we don't really want to be around, and a stranger pretty neutral. Now think that all three of these don't want to suffer. They're all equal in not wanting to suffer, just like ourselves. So we're looking at the commonality. So important. Also, we all desire happiness. So there's no point to discriminate or have bias. All exactly the same in wanting to be happy and not wanting to suffer. So if we saw 10 in India, it's very common to see beggars lining the road. So if you saw 10 beggars, how can you discriminate? How can you have bias? And they're all in need. Although everyone is lacking happiness and they don't want suffering, we are afflicted by suffering. Everyone is. Just like if we saw a lot of patients in a hospital, all with the same illness, there is no reason to discriminate. They're all suffering. So we do this on our own, then we can go much slower and really let it sink in. I just want to give a taste. So we conclude that we shall never discriminate between beings when I help them overcome suffering and gain happiness. So then the question may arise, well, among others, some harm me and some help me. So, it's just the way it is. But however, beings have helped me more than they've hurt me. Can think that way. How's that? Well, sometimes we get angry at somebody, and based on that one encounter, we don't like them anymore. But like the example I gave with my dad, if I think back, there are many times he helped me, but I'm focused on the time he hurt me. Although beings may occasionally help me, still they remain either harmful or neutral. So we can have that question in our mind. Yeah, people help me, but still, based overall, they don't do me much good, and most of them are neutral. They're not related to me. But there are people I don't know, or maybe people I knew in the past and had run-ins with, who have built this building, who have supplied me with food, transportation, built the roads, supplied me with electricity, food, water. And anyway, in Buddhism, enemies help us develop patience. So they're very useful. Lama Zopa used to say, it's really hard for me to develop patience because no one gets mad at me. Lama Zopa would say that. Another reason is that we're all under the sways of impermanence. We're all changing all the time. So there's no point to have attachment or hatred. We're all going to die. This is Jado Rinpoche that I mentioned earlier. He said this when he was here recently. Like sheep going to the slaughter and fighting amongst themselves. What's the point? We all have delusions. Let's fight those instead. Not a soon to be corpse. So it's always changing. The worst enemy today could be my best friend later. My best friend today, I can have an argument and then they feel like I don't even know them. And all these neutral people I ignore or indifferent to that have helped me so much. Again, friend, enemy, stranger is something that's dependent on my mind labeling people that way. It doesn't come from their side. They don't walk around with a sign, I'm Richard's enemy. Not everybody sees somebody I like as somebody to like. Not everybody sees the people I have trouble with as troublesome. There's no fixed identity from their side, merely labeled. Feel a commonality with all human beings. Exactly the same. Don't want to suffer, want to be happy. They do, friend, enemy, strangers, they do exist conventionally. I mean, we're not trying to, what we're trying to do is prevent the negative states of mind of hatred and attachment associated with those labels. We're not stopping the recognition of someone as enemy or friend. Just like we said, the chair, it'll still appear as a chair, but it still appears pain. We're trying to prevent our own fluctuating emotions. Lama Yeshe called it the yo-yo mind. I like, I don't like, I like, I don't like. Attraction, aversion, attraction, aversion. The Buddha sees all sentient beings as friends, but he doesn't generate attachment. He has such love, but it's not self-centered. It's not based on his needs. Friend, enemy, stranger do not exist independently from our perception. We then label them and then believe in the labels and then react to that belief. And along the way come anger and attachment, which harm us and harm others. It's not about being indifferent. It's about having equanimity. Seeing others just like ourselves. His Holiness quotes a master, I invoke you, Buddha. You have attained the supreme fruit of the bodhicitta tree, born from the seed of unceasing compassion, moistened by love in the soil of equanimity. So we're making the field, the soil, plowing the field, making it smooth, making it even, so that we can go on to moisten it and with love and compassion to develop the fruit of bodhicitta. So part of helpful to do in our daily life too is to, like, what's our motivation, what's our intention, and try to bring it around to the wanting to benefit myself and all beings to have more happiness in our life, as we did in the beginning, and then at the end to dedicate whatever we've done, that anything positive that we've generated um, will help others, um, ourselves and others, get out of the grasp of self-grasping. Okay, okay, stop there. I'd like to give away a couple books. It's one person online. You're eligible. Oh, pity. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll draw. Okay. Ryan, way to go. Um, would you like, you can pick. I got two here. Do you know Pema Chodron? And then this is Lamy Eshe. You can pick. You don't have it? Okay, good. Okay, one more. Either of you know Pema Chodron? You do, you all do. Do you have start where you are? Let's see. We'll see what happens. Kathleen. Do you have this one? Okay, cool. Aw, wow. So can you lend it to her when you're done? Okay, I think that's it. Huh? We'll do more books next time. Huh? I like books. I have a lot of books. Yeah. And now I can give them away. Oh, Santa Cruz Bookshop. Yeah. Yeah. And I had to go, and I wanted some DNA. So I had to go shake his hand. Yeah, to like get some of that mojo, you know. What heart, you know. And the thing that gets me is like, would they have ever, would Henry ever, would he ever have gotten out of his upbringing if he hadn't met somebody who opened his heart and the what? Yeah, yeah. Or he's no longer being in, with his parents and that crowd. But Buddhism says that a lot. It's like who you hang out with matters. We can see that, huh? I mean, unless you're really advanced and you can hang out and and maintain, but most of us get influenced or dragged down or something. But boy, even when his parents came in and wouldn't shake Ray's hand, he just still stayed with, supported Ray. I was with Ray. It's my best friend. There's a lot more to it, you know. Uh, totally charged, Alabama, you know, totally. The gun they got was some old gun that wouldn't even fire. That, yeah, 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 Yeah.
Why did Jenna didn't want me to? She called the police and they
Wait, you? When? Wait a minute, you were on a plane? Oh, yeah. Hmm. Oh boy. Wow. Must really all bring it back with what's going on now. Huh? Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you. So they won't be eligible next week to win a book, so your chances are better.